guest just a moment ago. If you've just joined us, you missed out on something absolutely fabulous, catching up with John and his laughter yoga. More on that in a second. And We Will Rock You is currently being played by Pembrokeshire Performing Arts over in Haverfordwest High, so you can get tickets because there's still some available for the remainder of the week, so catch it quick. There's an all-star stellar cast on there. Bare Naked Ladies, 1 week playing that because I made reference to it. I'm the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral, and we were just talking off air actually about times where we weren't supposed to giggle, and we were giggling. Hayley, you did it on one of the biggest days of your lives.
Yes, due to my vows and my wedding.
I love that. And Tammy, you made the point that we didn't actually ask John about the different types of laughter. Does it matter? So we did the ha ho he live on air, but you were saying that you actively, not like as a punishment, but you when your mum's around, you've got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, my mum has got such a distinctive laugh that growing up, and even now in adulthood, if anyone starts my mum off laughing, it's almost a case of you have to look away because she's so loud. It's so distinctive. And I just think we should have maybe touched on those different types of laughs, the more unconventional laughs that are out there.
Yeah, and I know that John's no longer with us, but I am going to speak for him because I anticipate that his answer would have been, it doesn't matter what laugh you've got, just laugh anyway, is my hunch as to what he would say. However, what I have found, because you mentioned about your mum and her distinctive laugh, hello, Tammy's mum, is there's a video on the internet of a French television show where they invited about 8 people with distinctive laughs onto their show. So before we move on to our section here, as we approach 9:30, which is looking at sense of peace, I'm calling it, in lots of stress, let's all share in these laughs and see if you can pick your laugh out.
Vous êtes célibataire, c'est pas à cause de votre rire?
J'espère pas.
Non.
Tammy, I think it was you that made the point that laughing's contagious. I want more.
It really is. It's just, even though you can't see the person, just hearing someone else's enjoyment is just, it's brilliant. Absolutely infectious.
Brilliant. What's the video called? French TV show invited people with unusual laughs to sit together. There you go. It's as literal as that. So you're not going to go long and not find it. Hayley, did you recognize your laugh in there?
I thought I did. There was one that I thought, oh, that sounds a little bit like me. But do you know the nicest laugh though ever? The most heartwarming laugh is a baby laugh.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, Flynn hasn't quite got the giggles yet, but what he does do is
He's practicing.
He's practicing. He's getting there. But we're very fortunate. We have got a smiley, giggly, well, that version of a giggle. So we get to hear it often, which I'm very grateful for. And hopefully he's growing up already in his formative months, hearing lots of laughter, which makes me very happy as well. So yeah, but very, very grateful for laughter. Now I know how good it is for us, for the calories, for that reducing the stress hormones and things and all the good stuff it does to us. And thanks to John for giving us hints and tips and examples as to how we can bring it into daily life, which we kind of need it now more than ever. Hayley, sense of peace after we've been talking about laughing and play. And in fact, this actually rounds in quite nicely, actually. When we were young and carefree, we used to go to the slide. We didn't care about what was on the news. We didn't care about Middle Eastern conflict. It was there, though, back in the 90s and the 80s and the 60s. There's always been some conflict going on, and yet all of us have grown up with that sense of, actually, I'm here enjoying myself and my time. And yet, with the internet as it is, with reporters as they are, we get bombarded by all this information. Hayley, what can we do about this?
I think I've probably said this about a lot of things in the past, but it is choice, isn't it? It's a choice as to what you immerse yourself in and what you surround yourself with. So TikTok and all those kinds of social media apps, and what are you listening to? What are you watching? What's coming up on your algorithm? Mine seems to be at the moment football, because I keep sending stuff to my kids about football. So you can change your algorithm as well. But if you're choosing to constantly be hearing or exposed to what's going on globally without any control, that has a huge impact on your well-being. So I think power of choice is really important for that sense of peace.
Yeah, Tammy, these algorithms have got a lot to answer for. I'm thinking now to the Louis Theroux documentary into the manosphere and things like that. If we're not armed to look at content for face value and think and be the critical analyst of everything that's fed to us, we're just going to believe and watch more of it, and then watch more of it, then be fed more of it. And that's the bit that concerns me, is that it's all fed to us. So we don't even need to look that hard to find all this information. So we do have a sense of choice, but if that's all that's filling up your feed, all of a sudden that becomes your truth. What can we do, Tammy?
I think it's really important that we're able to separate the internals from the externals, for want of a better description. When you stop investing or, leaking energy into things that you can't change, that you can't control, you suddenly find yourself having this massive surplus of power of things that you can control, that you can change. And most of our stress just lives or happens in that gap between what we can control and what we can't. And I think, as Hayley said, it's about limiting, our circle of control, putting the effort in, perspective, our reactions. Because when we think about algorithms, it just pushes out things that it deems positive or popular that we've interacted with. There's no context to it. So again, I think it's about us stepping back and actually almost breathing and just working out what we can control. Bad stuff's still going to happen globally. There's still going to be negative things, but we can't control that. So we should be investing our energy into the things that we can change, that we can control.
Yeah, Hayley, it almost feels like periodically, I'm not going to put a date on it, but periodically we need a bit of a refresh, both in physical sense of self, but also what we're consuming. Is that fair to say?
I think so. And I think we're not very good at it now. Like when we're talking about our childhoods and we went out to play and we were exposed to fun and games and nature and all those kinds of things that are surrounding us in Wales, and we're very lucky. But I think now children are immersed in technology and all the stuff that comes along with technology and all the apps. So they're not choosing to go out and take a break. So they're constantly stimulated, whether it's the news or whatever it is, they're constantly switched on, which means there's no break to relax. So it's no wonder some children aren't sleeping, not eating. It's because of what they're consuming and what they're immersing themselves, what time they're giving to things that are not doing them that much good.
And because of how our brain mechanism works, but it's getting that dopamine hit all the time with all of these senses and this constant feedback loop that we're getting, it then means that refresh, that detox is a literal detox, Tammy. So it becomes more and more difficult the more entrenched that I've got to watch the headlines at 10. I've got to, because I must know what's going on. I must log on to the app and find out what's the latest that's been said. Who's doing what to who and why, and how will this impact me? And a lot of the things that happen, petrol prices aside, are things that may not ever actually happen, because the way that the news seems to work now is there's a lot of conjecture as to, the risk of this is that it could do this. And then all of a sudden we're feeding off things that don't actually have a thing yet, Tammy.
No, but it becomes part of our world, doesn't it? It becomes part of our lives, like you say. That habit. I have to watch the news at 10. I have to do this at a certain time. I have to check this app. And we actually then just become so kind of like focused in this, and very insular as well, that we're not actually taking a moment just to step back, put it into perspective. Just, that distraction, we don't want it to become a habit. And, let's remind ourselves, habits form within only a few weeks. Like 21 days, we form a habit. So we need to be breaking that. We need to be creating new neurological pathways. We need to be exploring and doing new things to keep ourselves mentally healthy, happier, nicer, calmer. That's what we need to be doing, as opposed to just sticking rigidly to, I need to do this to see if anything's changed. Oh, it's the same headline. Otherwise, we're just in this kind of like vicious circle.
Yeah. Hayley, how can we deepen these new neural pathways? What techniques have you got on hand for us to think, actually, I'm ready for this refresh? What can we actually do?
You've got to put the phone down for a little bit. And I know it sounds easier said than done, but actually the benefits of getting out in nature and just sitting in the sunshine. So when we've got sunshine, just going out and getting the boost from the rays of sun, that can have a massive difference. That can enhance all sorts of things in your body, but also giving yourself other challenges, other mental challenges. Maybe reading a page a day of a book. You don't have to read lots, but you'll spend, instead of spending all that time on your phone, you're reading a page or two every day. At some point, you'll get through a book and you'll have some new knowledge. So it really is about choosing whether you're an arts and crafts person, whether you paint, whether you draw, whatever holds your attention, put it in your diary, put it in your calendar, so that it's in there as part of your day.
I started off the show telling you, because we were talking about play, how I've got back into computer gaming, which is something that I definitely left behind. And do you know that I've actually got gaming comes up as one of my recurring things on my calendar? And there's nothing better, because both of your hands are on that gamepad, and you've got to be focused on the guy that's wielding the double-edged electric, whatever it was that I was trying to battle last night. You can't think about anything else in that moment that you're playing on the computer. I would have gone outside, but it was dark. It was, I think I was playing for 45 minutes, which in gaming terms is like a second, but it was enough to be like, I've switched off. The day has come to a close, and my focus is now here to like wash away the day. The other extreme measure I took to get away from my phone is I've had a child and a dog. And I found myself yesterday just out in the garden when it was nice and sunny, just kicking the tennis ball from one end to the other, holding said baby in my arms, and then just kicking the ball to the dog. And that was just a lovely 15-20 minutes just outside, which was amazing. It's quite an extreme measure, and there's like an element of teamwork involved in that one to create said baby. So I know it's not an option for everyone, but Tammy, it's carving out those bits of time that Hayley mentioned, putting it in your diary, putting the phone away, and just being with yourself, allowing yourself to be bored, going back to our conversation about play.
Yeah, no, it really is. And, that commitment, and we've spoken about it before on previous shows, but, to intentionally reduce, or limit, or even eliminate the use of devices or technology, whatever extreme. But I think it's really important to point out that we're so dependent on our devices, on technology, and it'd be wrong for me to say anything different. So to actually start those changes, for some people, it will be difficult, but that's okay. We have to start somewhere. I liken it to if you were in like a meadow and please stick with me on this. If you're in a meadow and you normally walk the same path all the time in this meadow, and then one day you see in the distance like a big shiny object, and you really like that shiny object, but there's no pathway. But every time you go and you walk, you're looking and you still keep seeing it and you're just really intrigued. So one day you actually make the decision to actually walk towards this shiny object. And that pathway, there isn't a pathway because it's covered in brambles and grass and, just all sorts of things. And that first time you do it, it's difficult. But the second time it gets a bit easier, and the third. And within no time at all, that is your new kind of pathway. And you look back and your old pathway is now kind of like overgrown with brambles and grass. So again, some things, people will be able to do really easily, put that phone down, walk away. Sometimes like yourself, it's about, holding the, Flynn, it's about having a dog, it's about, playing with football. So it's just what's measurable to you. It's managing your expectations on yourself, but it's about making that decision. That's the first part, that commitment.
Hayley, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think we want to take the path of least resistance because it's easy, right? I've talked about comfort zones with a client this week, and a comfort zone is only comfortable because it's familiar and predictable. It's not comfortable because it's a good place to be necessarily. So if you can, even if it's, I'm just going to put my phone down for 2 minutes today, 3 minutes tomorrow, 5 minutes on the weekend, it does get a little bit easier. And when you lift your head up, you get to see what else is around you. Like I say this all the time, 4 kids, 2 dogs, 2 chickens and a fish. That's my kind of mantra for what I've got. I love being outside with the chickens because they come and sunbathe with me. So I'll talk to the chickens. And it's ridiculous. I don't know if they understand me, but they'll come and they'll sit and like talk to me. It's great, isn't it? I'm not saying they understand me. Many people don't. But it's a simple thing of that mindfulness of being in that moment, present, here now, connected to the ground, connected to the seat, understanding what the environment around you is. Even that recognition of describing the immediate surroundings, what you're sitting on, what you feel, that alone, you don't even have to go outside. You can sit in the same gaming chair, put your phone down. That alone is classed as mindfulness.
Yeah, just being aware of your immediate surroundings, where you are in this second. You can do a 1 minute body scan. You'd be like, right, well, what am I feeling? Where is it feeling? Like, can I put a color to it? And there's all these different things that just take you away from that wider world it does cause a stress. Getting all this stimulus and seeing what we have seen on the news, both near and far, is going to impact us in some way. And I suppose a distinction that we need to make here is that we're not turning a blind eye to it. We're just taking moments to look after ourselves. So we could take, if you're so inclined, a proactive stance against or for it. But you've got to be able to know when to reset, Tammy. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it can be things in moderation. But again, it's just remembering that we can only change what we can change. We can't control everything that's happening, in the world. And it's our reaction to that as well. We can control our reaction. We can control how we respond. So again, we can watch, news stories. We can hear the most kind of like awful things that are happening. But, the question is, how can we actually impact? Can we actually change anything? And if the answer is no, then we need to be actually looking at ourselves and what we can do to change our habits, to improve our kind of like well-being.
Yeah. One of my favorite things when I was starting on the whole develop yourself kind of mantra that I was on, well, still am, similar to Hayley. I know that we're both reading similar books at any given time, but there's my favorite thing, which is you can do anything you want, but you can't do everything. And it's similar with all the information that we receive. We can do anything we want: time, effort, perseverance, skill learning, negotiation, like all those things that go with it. We're capable, typically speaking, of achieving any goal that we set ourselves, but we can't do everything. I can't set a goal to be a world leading footballer whilst also being one of the world's best computer whizzes. Like two completely different tracks. If I want to do that, then sacrifice comes into it. And all these images that we see that we're bombarded with, there's only so much we can do about everything that's going on in the world around us. So why can't we cultivate that sense of peace in our immediate circle? And that's really selfish, that is some comments that I've heard before, but there is only one of us. And if we keep spiking our stress levels, then that's going to be to our detriment, Hayley.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I've talked about this week as well is mindset and how powerful that is. And for somebody who maybe thinks that they can't change their mindset because it's stuck and it has been for a long time, if you have the power to be able to talk yourself into believing negative things about yourself, you also have the power to talk yourself into believing the positive things. The key is practice. When you are constantly listening to negative news, negative things that are going on in the world, and seeing all the things you can't control, that is what you're talking yourself into. I'm not saying, obviously there's its impact in your life, but if you spend that same amount of time, so let's say you decided tomorrow, I am going to spend 5 minutes every day telling myself how much I love myself, how much I like myself. If I did that for 5 minutes every day for the next month, the difference at the end of the month would be visible.
That you're going to go as bold as if you did that for a month, you would recognize a change in who you are and your makeup and how you feel.
Yes, I absolutely, I'm standing by that, because we do. So the negative self-talk, we'll do that all day long for all our lives. But if you can just carve out 5 minutes every day and stick to it religiously, put it in your calendar, do it every day, do it even more power, do it in the mirror, looking into your eyes. By the end of the month, there will be a change.
I'm intrigued. Well, our next show, when's our next show? If we can get some volunteers to do this, our next show is going to be the 14th of May. I would love it if you're watching this or if you're listening to this to actually maybe even drop Hayley a message of being like, right, give me some examples of what I need to do, and start filling your body up with positivity. I'd love to be able to report back as to how you're feeling now and how you're feeling on the 14th of May. I think that would be incredible. It's coming up to 9:45 already here this evening. We've learned how to play again and how to take time away from the everyday as adults. That's what's important here, because the children and the young ones typically know how to do it. It's all they know is how to play. We communicate through play. We learn. We problem solve all through play. So why do we stop? And how can you cultivate it again? We had examples of playing cards, of playing Uno, of just being by yourself and coming up with games in your own head. We've also had a laughter workshop with John Bockelman Evans, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And if you missed it, don't forget that everything we've talked about is going to be on the catch up on purewestradio.com. Click on the catch up and you'll see How to Mind Better Lives. And now we've talked about the looking at our sense of peace in a global world where the news isn't exactly the best thing in the whole entire world. Tammy, what's been your big takeaway for this evening's show?
Two highlights. That you can burn calories. You can burn calories through laughing. That's my that's my life hack. So don't have to go to the gym. I can just barely laugh, and I'm looking forward to actually doing that. All jokes aside, I really enjoyed that. And also my second takeaway is just, curiosity is so powerful. It's powerful in, play and relationships. It's about how we respond and how we understand. So I would like listeners to laugh and also just embrace their inner child that maybe they've lost.
I love that. And Hayley, same question to you. What's your takeaway from today's show?
Yeah, I think the choosing to laugh is a real powerful tool, but also getting back to just enjoying play, whatever that looks like. Like we've done. Have you ever done the cornflower and water?
What's that?
This is one for the diary for Flynn when he gets a little bit older, because it's edible. He can do this about as soon as he's sitting up and holding things. Just mix cornflour and water, and it will be hard and runny all at the same time.
Oh, do some people put this on like speakers and it bounces around? Is it that kind of thing?
Oh, no, I haven't seen that, but that's with
Oh.
graphene, isn't it? But yeah, it's lovely. It's really relaxing, but it's edible, so it's safe.
I'm going to try that. I'm going to be doing that later. Well, not later. I'm going to do it.
Put your hands in it. Just play with it. Water painting. Instead of, you don't even have to buy paints now. Get a brush or one of those things you got in the kitchen that puts paste in brush. Paint water outside.
Well, that's true. That's what they do in Disneyland. They got the guys that walk around with just like a water stick, and he does shapes on the dry pavements.
There you go.
Which is great. In fact, we had Tom Shepherd on the breakfast show the other day. He's doing, check this out, they should have been on this show really, foraging and watercolor workshops. They're going to be doing different courses for people that are interested in being out with nature. They're doing a seaside forage, and then they're doing a hedgerow forage. Then they're all going to go back to the Really Wild Emporium in St. David's and kind of watercolor the landscapes and the things that they found on their quest in the morning of the forage, which to me sounds like the perfect way to spend a day completely immersed in two very mindful tasks.
Yeah, that's right up my alley, that is.
Details of them are at purewestradio.com. It's now coming up to 10 to 10. 10 to 10 to 10 10 10. Sorry, you've got to do it. You're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed to go past it without paying the toll, which means that it is time for us to go, unfortunately. And we'll have to pick up that other theme as a little pickup next month, which we already know is the 14th of May. I'm getting my little graph out here. We're going to be talking. What are we going to be talking about? Who of you two picked this theme?
Oh, I've got access to it, Tammy. I haven't got access to it.
Oh, I'll have to go find it. Just quickly talk amongst yourselves.
I'll give you the title. It's Huggy, I think is how it's described, and homeostasis. Is it Danish?
Oh, I'm looking. I know it's going to be great.
Finding comfort within is the tagline, and we're going to try and get a nutrition expert on to tell us.
It was gut. It was gut, mind, just nutrition, just bringing like the body together with the gut, feeding it good stuff, and just enjoying the benefits of good food on the body.
There we go. That's what you've got to look forward to next month here on Healthy Minds, Better Lives. To Hayley and to Tammy, diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you so much.
Diolch. It's lovely to catch up again and see you all.
And to our special guest, John Bockelman-Evans, who joined us earlier on for his laughter yoga. Thank you so much to him. You can find more. It sounds like he's very active on LinkedIn, so go and find him there. And in the meantime, a little bit flippant, I know, but we're going to play with all these things going on all around us. A bit of C'est la vie. Life is life. Que sera. So we've got a bit of Bewitched for us. It's 10 to 10, good and proper. Thank you so much, Hayley and Tammy.
Thank you. Bye.